Hello, my name is Alexandria Montague, and I am a recruitment officer and career advisor in the Faculty of Engineering. And today I'll be talking to you about the supplementary application.
Let's go over what happens after you submit your OUAC application. Step 1. A few business days after you complete your application at OUAC, you'll receive an acknowledgement email from McMaster University. This confirms that your application has been received. Just a quick note, it can take a few weeks for your checklist to update. So don't worry if you don't see changes right away. Patience is key. Step 2. Once you receive that email, you'll be able to activate your Mac ID. Your Mac ID is your personal login that gives you access to your McMaster applicant profile. Depending on what type of applicant you are, you'll log in through one of the two systems: Mosaic if you're an Ontario high school student, or the applicant portal if you're applying from outside of Ontario or through another route. And step 3, finally, make sure to complete your checklist in your McMaster applicant profile. This step ensures that your application is fully processed and that nothing is missing. Now, let's talk about one of the most important parts of your McMaster engineering application, your supplementary application. This component is required to complete your application to the Faculty of Engineering. It gives you the chance to show us more than your grades. We want to learn about you as a person, your thought process, how you solve problems, how you communicate, and how you think critically. The supplementary application is completed online at your own pace and is not a live interview, so don't worry. There's no one watching you in real time. It takes approximately 20 minutes to complete in total. Once you've submitted your application to McMaster, you'll receive an email from Cura Talent within 7 to 10 business days. If you don't see it in your inbox, make sure to check your junk or spam folder. It sometimes ends up there. When you find the email, just follow the instructions to access, review, and complete your supplementary application. A quick reminder, the supplementary application is due January 29th, 2026. So be sure to give yourself plenty of time. The supplementary application is made up of 4 questions in total. 3 video responses where you'll have 1 minute to prepare and 2 minutes to respond, and 1 written response where you'll have 10 minutes to answer. These questions are not skill testing or technical, and they won't ask you to list your extracurriculars. Instead, they're interview style prompts focused on who you are, your strengths, experiences, leadership, communication, and how you approach problem solving. Some example questions include things like: tell us about a time management strategy you used. How do you stay balanced during stressful times? Give an example of a time you acted with integrity. They're designed to get a sense of who you are beyond academics, and you can draw from anything: extracurriculars, part time jobs, school projects, sports, or any personal experience. Choose examples of what best reflects you. Before you start the real application, you'll get a chance to answer some practice questions. They aren't related to the actual questions, they're simply there to help you get comfortable with the platform. Examples include: what is your favorite color? What's your favorite TV show and why? You can complete the practice questions as many times as you want, but keep in mind you only get one attempt at the real questions. Here are some ways you can prepare before diving in. Review common high order or soft skill interview questions. For example, tell me about a time you had to adapt quickly to a change. What happened and how did you handle it? Or describe a situation where you had a conflict with someone. How did you approach resolving it? And what did you learn? Practice answering questions out loud with a timer. When preparing your answers, consider using the STAR method. When using the STAR method, you will briefly explain the situation, the task you needed to accomplish, the action you took, and the result of your efforts to create a clear, structured response. Look over your resume and refresh yourself on key experiences and achievements. Try a mock interview with family or friends and make a list of the strengths and skills you've developed. You're likely to draw from those. To set yourself up for success, try to choose a quiet, distraction-free space. Dress in a way that feels comfortable and confident. Remember that it's completely okay to feel nervous. Nerves aren't penalized. Build a story around your experiences so your answers feel grounded and memorable. And most important, be authentic. You'll communicate more naturally when you are yourself. Next, I'd like to give you a quick walkthrough of what the supplementary application looks like on the Kira Talent platform. I won't be showing any of the real questions, but this will give you a sense of what to expect once your invitation arrives. After you apply through OUAC, you'll receive an email from Kira Talent inviting you to complete your assessment. That email will include some introductory information, as well as a link that takes you directly to your supplementary application. When you click the link, you'll arrive on a landing page where you'll see the check-in button. That's where you'll begin the process. After selecting check-in, you'll see a short checklist outlining the steps you'll go through: a welcome video, registration, device setup, practice questions, and finally, the mandatory interview, which is where the real interview questions begin. As you complete each step, it will automatically show as completed. You're welcome to revisit the welcome video, registration, or device setup at any time. Step 4 is where your practice questions begin. The practice questions format mirrors the real assessment. Everything is laid out exactly as it will be for your real questions. You'll see a timer, your prep time, and your response time. Everything is laid out exactly as it will be for your real questions. Once you finish the 4 practice questions, you'll have the option to practice again. You can practice as many times as you'd like. Just make sure you're selecting the practice section, not the assessment. You can come back to practice anytime, the same day, later in the week, or after a break. Do it at your pace that works for you. You'll also notice a button that says Return to Check-in, which will take you back to your main dashboard. You'll see a message confirming that you're about to begin. Once you start, you have one chance to complete the questions. You cannot return to the questions. So make sure you've set aside about 20 minutes of uninterrupted time before beginning. After completing the 4 assessment questions, you'll reach a final screen, confirming that your responses were successfully submitted. You'll also have the option to watch a short closing video. You should see a screen stating that your assessment is 100% complete. If you don't see the screen right away, don't panic. You can always log back in using your Kira link to check your status. Kira Talent will also send you an email confirming that your application was successfully submitted. Once your supplementary application is submitted, you'll receive an email confirmation. Your applicant portal or Mosaic won't update immediately. This usually happens after the deadline in late February/early March. So don't worry if the checkmark isn't there right away, as long as your Kira status shows 100%. While you're in your applicant portal or Mosaic, make sure you've uploaded any additional documents requested by the admissions office if needed. And this is also a great time to start thinking about scholarship applications. If you run into any technical issues while completing your supplementary application, things like your camera, microphone, or the platform not working properly, the best thing to do is contact Kira Talent directly through their platform. They'll be able to help you right away. If you require accommodations to complete the supplementary application, we're here to support you. Please fill out the request for accommodations form, which can be found on our website. A member of the engineering student recruitment team will follow up to ensure you have everything you need. If you have questions about the application process itself or something we haven't covered today, you can review our supplementary application webpage, which has a lot of helpful details, or email our team anytime at thinkeng@mcmaster.ca. We're here to support you. Now, at this time, I can review some of your questions and answers, and if there's none, we can move forward with the rest of the presentation. So someone asked, I missed a part of the information. Does the supplementary application involve both written and video responses? And the answer to that question is yes. It does involve both written and video recorded. So there is one written response, which you have 10 minutes to answer. And there are three video questions, which you have 2 minutes each to answer. Someone asked, for the interview, are we allowed to write down notes during our 1 minute prep time and refer to them while we give our responses? Thank you. I don't believe you will have enough time to write down notes during your 1 minute prep time. So that's why we kind of recommend, in terms of how to prepare, to review your resume and your list of accomplishments, or kind of create any kind of experiences or examples before doing the interview so you can recall those during the interview process. You won't have enough time during that 1 minute to try and write down a response, in my opinion. Someone asked, is the camera on the entire time during the Kira talent? The camera is on once you start answering the video recorded questions. Someone asked, is there prep time before recording? So there is 1 minute prep time before you answer the question, but you can always practice the practice questions as much as you would like before you actually do the real interview. Someone asked, is it a bad idea to share a story about how I failed to perform a certain thing instead of how I succeeded? That totally depends on the question that you receive. If you're able to answer that question in a way where there's a positive spin, um, I would say it's totally up to you. The questions, like we said, is about us getting to know who you are. So if you feel like that is an example of how you can show your resiliency or a time you took a risk, totally up to you. Someone asked if I could repeat what I should cover for the supplementary application. So, in terms of preparation, here are ways you can prepare before diving in. Review common high order or soft skill interview questions. Practice answering questions out loud with a timer. So, we suggest using the STAR method, which is situation, task, action, and result. So when you use the STAR method, you'll briefly explain the situation, the task you needed to accomplish, the action you took, and the result of your efforts to create a clear, structured response. Look over your resume and refresh yourself on key experiences and achievements, and try a mock interview with family or friends, and make a list of the strengths and skills you've developed that you'll likely draw from those. And someone asked what the deadline is. As a reminder, the deadline for the supplementary application is January 29th. So the OUAC application deadline is January 15th. The supplementary application is January 29th, and the scholarship applications is due February 19th. Someone asked if I apply for iBiomed and engineering, will I have to do two sub apps? The answer is no. You only need to complete one supplementary application for all of your Faculty of Engineering applications through OUAC. Someone asked if there are any other supplementary forms that they need to fill out. The answer is no. There's only this supplementary application through Kira Talent. And then if you would like to apply to our scholarships, that's when you can fill out more information about your extracurricular activities. But those are two different processes. So to confirm, there's only one supplementary application, and that's through the Kira Talent platform. Someone asked, hi, I realize there's a deadline for the supplementary application. Is it frowned upon if someone sends it the day before it's due rather than a month, for example? We suggest that you give yourself as much time as possible to answer the supplementary application. It won't be frowned upon if you hand it in a day before. However, we just want to make sure that you give yourself enough time in case there are any kind of technical issues or if you run into any problems that you can contact Kira Talent platform directly or contact us at the Faculty of Engineering in case you have any problems. So that's my response is it won't be frowned upon, but just make sure that you give yourself enough time. Someone asked, will we have access to any form of actual practice questions? Not what's your favorite color, but questions that resemble the actual test that would prepare us for the test. The answer is no. On the practice questions on the Kira Talent platform, it's going to be questions like, what's your favorite TV show? And explain why, or what's your favorite color? However, we do suggest that in order to prepare, you can Google common high order or soft skill interview questions. Like, tell us about a time you had to adapt quickly to a change, what happened, and how did you handle it to prepare. Someone asked, is the writing or the written portion being recorded? You're not being recorded as you type your answer. However, you only have 10 minutes to answer the written question. Someone asked, are multiple cameras required when answering the video interview? Multiple cameras are not required. Someone asked, does Kira Talent have practice questions? And the answer is yes. There are practice questions that'll help you to get comfortable using the Cura platform. So you can practice those before you take the actual test or the actual assessment as many times as you would like. There's been a lot of questions asking if there could be like almost like a cheat sheet or some kind of notes in front of them. And my response to that is that to answer the questions as naturally and authentically as possible. So if you feel like having notes will not hinder you from coming across as natural or coming across as answering authentically, then do what you feel best. However, my advice is to practice answering questions before the actual real assessment so you can answer the questions feeling as confident as possible. And if someone asked a great question. So, can I take the practice session on Monday and take the actual interview on Friday? And Kara will just pick up where I left off. And the answer is yes. You can answer the practice questions as many times as you would like, and you can continue to go back to the platform to answer the practice questions before you actually take the real assessment. And someone asked, will the session be posted or set anywhere after this ends today? And the answer is yes. We'll be able to share this webinar with you. Someone asked for recording the video responses. Does one attempt mean that your first recording is essentially immediately submitted? And the answer is yes. You have one chance to answer the question. Someone asked, could you please clarify whether the practice questions within the supplementary application will be reviewed or evaluated as a part of the official assessment of my application? The practice questions will not be evaluated. So please feel confident to practice as many times as you would like before answering the real questions. Someone asked, what happens if the internet glitches? Can I redo the application? If you have any technological problems or issues, please contact Kira Talent directly and immediately, and we'll be able to figure out a way for you to be able to redo the application. Someone asked if I'm preparing to join one and to apply to one engineering program and another program outside of engineering that requires supplementary, do I need to do the supplementary application twice? The answer is yes. The engineering supplementary application is not the same as any other faculty at McMaster, so there will be different requirements depending on what faculties you apply to. However, if you're applying to multiple Faculty of Engineering programs, you only need to complete the supplementary application once. Someone asked, is there any way to redo the written portion of the supplementary application? The answer is no. I have time to answer one more question. Someone asked if I could provide more information on how to apply for accommodations. So we can have Simania put that link in the chat, but in order to apply for any accommodations, you will need to go to the Faculty of Engineering website where you will see the supplementary application tab. And there you'll find a form that says request for accommodations. You'll need to fill out that form in order to get any support for any accommodations you need for the supplementary application. Hey, thank you so much for joining us today. If you have any other questions after the session, please reach out to us at thinkeng@mcmaster.ca. You can also scan the QR code on the screen to explore our frequently asked questions, which is a great place to start if you want more information about the supplementary application.